Good evening mga katambol! Welcome to Percussive Art Society Philippines chapter, and we are now on our third and last specialties for this year. So, before anything else, we would like to thank all the katambols, lahat sa mga nanonood po from the start hanggang ngayon. So, we are being thankful na nandyan po kayo lahat. And yun nga, gaya ng sinasabi po namin, kung wala kayo, para kaming eng-eng rito nagsasalita. Yun. So, hindi ko na papatagaling pa. So, with me are the two world-class masters of Philippine music scene. Napaka-imposible naman na walang makakakilala dito sa dalawa. Ewan ko na lang kung hindi nyo pa makikilala. Isa sa mga pinakamagaling na drummer at saka sa world music, si Sir Mar Dizon at si Ma'am Tusa Montes. Magandang gabi sa inyo po. Sir Mar,
Magandang gabi sa iyo, Lexter. Magandang gabi, Tusa.
Good evening po. Kamusta po, Sir Mar?
Okay naman. Ito, medyo tensyonado. Mahirap pala ang buhay host.
Yes, oo, pero nasaya.
Iba ang tensyon sa pagtugtog. Kaya ano to, launching ng career namin ni Tusa to, ng hosting career.
Ayun.
Oo nga. Hello po, Lexter, at hello po, Sir Mar. Tama yung sinasabi ni Sir Mar. Parang ilang beses na natin itong ginagawang pag-host, pero nakaka-tense pa rin.
Oo, parang paulit-ulit lang sa umpisa ulit, no?
Opo. Ang grabe lang ang past Philippines kung ano-anong nagagawa natin. Ngayon, nag-host na tayo. Dati, tumutugtog-tugtog naman. Ngayon, eto na tayo, nag-host. But it's been a great year for the Philippines chapter, no? Ang dami nating nagawa.
Sir Marn, yung napag-usapan natin backstage, di ba? Parang yung sinasabi mo, hindi mo inakala na pwedeng gamitin tong social media at saka tong internet para mag-reconnect, di ba? Yung kinikwento mo sa amin kanina.
Oo nga, nagmumuni-muni kasi ako na parang dati yung nagagawa ng technology dati nakikita ko siya na parang pinaghihiwalay-hiwalay tayo, di ba? Kunyari, magkakasama tayo, kahit nasa party o anumang gathering, kanya-kanya may cellphone, kanya-kanya isa nag-games, basta, kumbaga magkakasama pero wala doon.
Oo, kanya-kanya.
Yung irony pala na, nung nagka-pandemic, syempre kailangan pa ng social distancing, naging parang dahil naman sa technology, parang, ayan, gaya ni Royal, nasan si Royal ngayon? Nasa US, di ba? Ikaw, nasa Dexter, si Tusa, nasan? Ako, nasa Pangasinan na ako. Di ba? So, parang, ano rin pala, siya rin pala yung magbubuklod at magtatabi sa ating lahat. Kumbaga, magbibigay sa ating lahat yung technology pa rin. Kaya, pasalamat pa rin, hindi pa rin yung positive na mga epekto ng pandemic. Kaya, alam mo yun, marami pa rin tayong dapat ipasalamat kahit mahirap ang buhay ngayon.
Yes. Thankful pa rin tayo kahit papano we're still connected.
Oo nga.
Diba? Dati hindi naman tayo nagkakausap ng ganito. Diba?
Yeah. Pero dahil sa technology, andito tayo ngayon. So, dito na. Kasama-sama, pare-pares na kinakabahan sa gagawin. Duduguin ng ilong mamaya.
Ayun nga, iba-ibang ating
buti na lang marunong
pinagagalingan. Si Sir Royal nasa Massachusetts, ako'y nasa Muntinlupa, tapos Sir Mar nasa Laguna kayo ngayon, ano? At si Lexter ay nasa Pangasinan.
Yeah.
Wow. Iba't ibang lupalop.
Pangasinan ba?
Yes, sir. Pangasinan ako ngayon.
Okay.
Ayun. Okay, so di natin papatagalin na siguro to. Bali, ang
teka lang. Meron tayong babatiin, di ba?
Nga pala.
Bago ang
lahat. Sino yung pabatiin mo?
Gusto kong batiin yung aking comrade in drums na may kaarawan kahapon. Swingy.
Yeah.
Birthday po ni Ernie Severino kahapon.
Yan.
Happy birthday, Ernie.
Happy birthday. Yeah, tsaka si Thomas Jamal. Yun. Yeah. So, yun. Mabuhay po kayo lahat.
Yes.
Oo nga. So, yun. Yun nga. Bali, ang topic natin ngayon sa specialty series is World Music Elements for Jazz Ensemble and Drum Set. Tapos, bali, ito yung parang ang mangyayari ito, parang kung paano natin may connect yung jazz sa world music. Di ba? Tama. Yun. So, hindi na tayo magpapatumpik-tumpik pa. Introduce na ni Ma'am Tusa kung sino yung ating guest speaker for tonight and today doon sa kanyang lugar.
Yeah.
Ayan, Ma'am Tusa.
Ayun nga, mapapa-English tayo nito ngayong gabi.
Yeah.
But it's 7 a.m. in Massachusetts where Dr. Royal is currently staying. At we apologize for starting a bit late kasi actually, naaliw kami nagkinakabahan dito, pero nung si Royal ay nag-log in, sabi lang niya, oh yeah, I was just doing a lot of thinking. Napaka-chill niya, you know? At ganun talaga ang approach niya sa buhay. Napaka-chill niya. And yeah, it is my great honor to introduce tonight's specialty speaker. So, si Dr. Royal Hartigan, actually, nakailang punta na siya dito sa Pilipinas. Before the pandemic, he's been making trips here. Actually, as early as, if I'm not mistaken, the 60s, he spent some time sa Pangasinan mismo para mag-Peace Corps. So, talagang malapit sa kanya ang Pilipinas. And then, years later, in 2005, 2006, he spent some time at the UP College of Music as a visiting professor, and that's where I first met him. And that around that time also na introduced din siya sa local music scene natin, sa jazz scene, yung mga tugtugan dito. And ayun, nakilala niya po si Sir Mar, si Lexter. So, and in UP, he introduced the African drumming program. At dahil po doon, nakapagbili kami ng African drums in UP, and we've been doing some African drumming and dancing and all of these exciting musics, which he will talk about tonight. Okay, and then since then, nakailang balik na siya, like performing in jazz festivals, sometimes bringing his jazz group, Blood Drum Spirit, also a very, very awesome jazz group. And because of me being able to getting to know Royal, dahil sa kanya na-inspired din ako to go to Ghana and actually spend some time there to learn some drumming. And that experience for me, that trip, you know, for one thing, I've seen Royal do field work at napakatindi niya, ang galing niya, like on the spot transcribing, you know. And yeah, because of him, I was inspired to learn more African drumming, and then basically he impacted a lot of people in the Philippines and abroad. Okay, and pagtatalakayan nga natin ngayon is world music, tapos may jazz, and then may drum set. Okay, because Royal is all of these things. You know, he's a musicologist, so he does music research, and he's a percussionist and an excellent jazz musician and a drum set player. So usually yung ginagawa niya is, you know, incorporating all of these traditional rhythms into the drum set. You know, very, very excellent musician. He studied African American studies sa University of Massachusetts, and learned from many interesting musicians like Max Roach. Okay, and other people. Okay, and he also traveled and learned other things. He would go to Africa, to Ghana so many times, at nagdadala rin siya ng estudyante doon. And yeah, so and he studied his master's and PhD at Wesleyan University. And there's just so much about him. His artistry is very profound. He has a unique approach to his sound. And as I've mentioned earlier, very generous in heart and spirit. He has impacted a lot of people. But before I present him, let us watch this video.
I got that.
There's a lot of people.
So we need another CD. Here's another. We use this one.
There is something about our culture. You cannot separate our dances from who we are.
I'm watching the new sound.
people, unless they happen to know the drumming or are African musicians, are not going to know the details of our adaptations and connections.
There is a very strong fundamental link between the music of jazz and African music.
Jazz was born out of the experience of Africans who were brought to America and the generations after them, and what they experienced here in this country.
A lot of people will still feel it from just the general vibe of it, but they can tell that it's not just mainstream jazz. Ever since I went to Africa, I knew right away, I've got to bring this group over here. And my idea wasn't just to have them come and play in the club or something.
It was an instantaneous collaborative process.
Let's see what happens. Let's see what we can do together.
Music, dance, and drama bind us together.
Alright, sige, without further ado, Sir Mar, Ma'am Tusa, and mga katambol, sabay-sabay po nating i-welcome si Dr. Royal Hartigan.
Hello, Royal.
Hi, Royal.
Kumusta kayo namin?
Good morning, sir. Yeah, magandang
mabuti.
umaga dyan.
Sige.
Mabuti naman kami. Kamusta ka din? Kamusta ka?
Maraming salamat for inviting me here with you today. I have to start by greeting everyone. That's traditional. So I hope all of you are well. I hope all of you are healthy, in good spirits. And I hope today to give you a little bit of what I've been very fortunate to learn from my teachers. And I should start by honoring my teachers. I am not of African culture or African American culture. So in one sense, this music is not mine to share, but my teachers have given me permission to share it with you, or else I couldn't even touch those drums and do the music. They have been very open-hearted to me and have said, yes, create your own rhythms from what we have given you and share with everyone in the world. And I would like to state all of their names for their help for me in my life path of learning traditional African drumming. My teachers were, and still are, some of them, Abraham Kobena Adzenya, Freeman Kwadzo Donkor, Godwin Kwesi Agbeli, Kwabena Boateng, and among many, many others, Ata Hoku and Eric Owusu. These were all and are master artists, and dancer Helen Mensah, Abena Mensah. They have given me from their heart, and so I now share it with you as a guest in both African and African American culture. I'd like to do about 3 different things today. First, to look at and listen to the way drums and the music of the people as an expression of culture and life and spirit can speak by direct language and just through sound. Second, we'll be adapting those sounds, those voices of the ensemble into the drum set in what is called jazz, an African American tradition. And then after that, I'd like to explore a little bit of how those sounds can be extended into different types of heartbeats. I think Tusa told me the word is tibok, heartbeat.
Tibok, yeah, pulso, yeah.
Okay, so that's what I'd like to do. And then, of course, maybe partway through, or also at the end, we will have questions and discussion for anything you'd like. So I appreciate your listening, and I'd like to start with the music of the Ewe and Fon people of Ghana, southeastern Ghana, Togo, and Benin, in a music called Adzohu. It's also known as Adzogbo, to the war divinity Adzogbo. And there are many sections and a lot of rhythms, but one of them is a music called Kadodo, and it has a bell pattern that is relatively long. In Western terms, and I'm using Western terms to make it a little easier to understand, but it's more of a sound than a written version. In Western terms, it would be in 24/8 time with 8 dotted quarter pulses. So there would be 3 units in each of those 8 dotted quarter beats. And I'll count, and then I'll play the bell pattern just so you get a feel of it. I'll count to 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And so another part is faster pace, and it is again in that 24/8 longer bell pattern, longer time cycle. And this style is called ago, and you'll hear it again. I'll count 8 and it'll come in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2. Okay, so now it's not possible to play this and to play the lead drum. So you'll have to somehow feel that a little bit, and then I will play the achimefu. This is called gankogwi. It's a double bell. It's heard as the voice of the mother and the child, and they are united forever as one. Gankogwi. They come in different sizes. Some are larger. We'll see one later that's larger, but this is a smaller one. And among the many instruments in the ensemble, which we won't go into today, the lead drum is achimefu. This drum, it's a tall drum resting on a stand, and it has a single head, and it's capable of many strokes. For the deep stroke, ga, de, gi, ki, to, chi, ka, ja, ji, vlo, gre. And these tones are different pitch level. So you can have a low tone, as such as ga, a medium tone, de or gi, and a high tone, such as ki or to. And since all sub-Saharan African languages are tonal, low, middle, and high, you can speak proverbs on the drums. I'll start with one that comes from the Ago section of Kadodo. And it's fairly brief, but I'll speak it first in Ewe language. This is a music of Ewe and Fon people. And here we're talking about Ewe. It's Miva Dugbaji. Miva Dugbaji. Miva Dugbaji. Miva, 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 Miva Dugbaji. Et woken mivane, miakpo, mivane, miakpo, mivane, miakpo, Dugbaji. Beji, 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 ji, miva Dugbaji. And what that means is everybody come. Miva Dugbaji. Everybody come. Et woken mivane. Miakpo means, oh, come to see all of the people, the drummers, the dancers, the warriors. See them in the center of our village. And the last part, beji, 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 beji. Life mission, life mission, life mission. Our lives are their mission. Adzohu is an old warrior music, and it was dedicated to the god of war, Adzogbo. And so these sayings, these proverbs, relate to that circumstance. Nowadays in Ghana, there are no wars. So this is now broadly seen, my teachers shared with me, as a way that we go through life. And instead of having a war with other people, we are negotiating the difficulties of life with this strategy of surviving and thriving. And C.K. Ledzekbo, another one of my teachers, said that the discipline that we have in learning the music and how to play on many layers of time and rhythm and accent and tone, this gives us the musical discipline, the physical, the intellectual, the emotional, and the spiritual discipline to meet life's challenges. It gives us a strength to be able to survive and do well in life, to keep our being whole. So now I will play this pattern, Miva Dugbaji. Here's the bell, first of all. I'll play the bell pattern here. And I'll give you the beat, basic beat here. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Drum strokes. Cha cha cha. Cha cha cha. So normally there would be a whole ensemble here. Kagan, Kiri, Sogo, Ahatse playing. So this is a little bit taken out of context. But I'm the only person here, so I can't share it with you without doing something just very small. But perhaps next time I see you, if any of you are here, or if I come to the Philippines back home, we'll have an ensemble with all of you, and we will play the whole ensemble. So this is one example of an African people, the Ewe and the Fon, having a meaning in the drumming with verbal texts that express wisdom and give discipline to meet the challenges of life. And again, this music is Adzohu, and the section that I quoted from is called Ago. Kadodo, another section, means forming a circle. And the dance movements do this in a circle. The second part that I just played, Ago, that means summoning everyone's spirit to address the spirit world. And so this is one example of music, African drumming, dance, and song, expressing the beliefs of a people through verbal text expressed on the tones of the drum. The verbal high, middle, and low pitches of Ewe language expressed on the high, middle, and low tones of, in this case, the Achimefu master drum. Cool. Now, I'd like to go to another part of Ghana, in central Ghana, where the Asante people live. And this area has a central capital of Kumasi. And the overall king of the Asante, the chief, the paramount chief, known as Asante Hene, the current Asante Hene is Otumfo Osei Tutu II. And when the Asante Hene travels in a palanquin at a festival, there is a music known as Fontamfram, and there are 4 parts. When the Asante Hene is brought in a procession, one of the 4 styles played is called Ato Peretia. And this has a number of instruments in the ensemble also, a bell, a supporting drum, an hourglass drum. But the main conversation is between 2 large drums. And I'll turn this so I think it will show pretty well. Yeah. And this music of Fontamfram has this different bell than we saw earlier. This was Gankogwi. This bell is called Dauro. And it's a single chamber, hollow tone with a lower, deeper sound. And for Atoperetia, the bell pattern is expressed in Western terms, could be written as 12/8. Again, 4 beats with 3 pulses each. So it would be 4 dotted quarter beats. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the heartbeat, tibok. And along with that, many of the other drums are also playing. But now I'd like to introduce you to the main conversation between 2 pairs of master drums. First, we have, move it a little bit. Yeah, that's good. These are called atumpang, and they have a low drum to the left and a higher drum to the right. And the low voice is heard as a male voice, and the higher drum is heard as female voice. And you can see they have different pitches, of course, and they can communicate. I'll do a proverb that's an invocation, usually played for Adoa music, but you get an example of it. Yesua mamihanu, Yesua mamahanu, Tuenebo kodua a brempang, Demiri fa due, demiri fa due, demiri fa due due. Due due ni, amiane hunu. Brampang yamawa kwa ba. Adawuroko fima homeraso, adawuroko fima homeraso, kumubrebre. Yesir momihanu, yesir momihanu, yesir momihanu. And on the drums, it sounds like this. The meaning of it is, honored person, we feel for you and all your suffering going through life's pain. But we hope and we wish you Godspeed on your journey through life and to survive all the difficulties of life. And here is that invocation on Atumpang. So these are atumpang, and over here there are two deep drums called boma. They are called boma, and each of the two drums would be played by a single person, whereas the atumpang, the two drums are played by one person. So I'll give you an idea of the sound of these drums. And one is slightly lower than the other. Once again, I would never normally play more than one part at a time. That's not usually done in Ghana. But since I'm all alone here and to demonstrate, I'm forced to do that. So I'm leaving out a lot. But just so you have an idea, we'll now just do one pattern of conversation in Fontomfram music, the Autoperetia section, between the boma and the atumpang. And again, this is when the chief is brought in a processional and a palanquin. And sometimes during this, the chief will dance either in the palanquin or get down on the street and also do specific dance movements. So this is to honor the chief, the Asante Hene of the Asante people of Ghana. So this is one short part of a conversation. I'll do the bell first. Let's see here. So this is another example of the sound of the drums speaking. There is no specific language associated with that dialogue, but I wanted to show it to give you a sense that you can have a understanding of meaning without words. At Zogbo, we had a text, words. Here, we have a conversation without words. And sometimes what is not spoken verbally is just as powerful as what has a cognitive content, a word verbal content. So now I'd like to go into the other room where the drum set is and look at a second part of what we're going to do. These were a kind of background to give you a sense of how the drums speak, how they communicate.
Royal? Wow.
Yes.
Before you go into the other room, maybe we can talk a bit about what just happened. Wow, that was very
if there's any
intense.
question, feel free. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, to start, this is amazing. Like all the drums that you have there in your room. Wow, it's like a whole village in that. And right now there are around 20 to 30 people watching from Facebook. There's one all the way from India. And some people from Hong Kong, and of course, Filipino percussionists. So there are a lot of people here. You just don't see them, but and it's the first time they're seeing this thing, and it's very amazing. Yeah. But before, I think it's time for some questions, maybe, and we can talk before you go into the other room with the drum set part. Yeah. I think Sir Mar has a question.
Okay.
And I think Lexter went out to grab a bite to eat or something. Anyway, si Sir Mar, kamusta?
That was awesome, Royal. Ang galing mo.
Yes, magaling.
Magaling. So my question is, when I was doing a research about you, I came across this song that you wrote entitled Pilipinas.
Oh, yes.
So what's the inspiration? What is the inspiration, or what's the story behind the song, and why is it in 5/4?
Oh, okay. Yeah. When I was a Peace Corps volunteer in Dagupan City, and then I was a little bit in Tanay Rizal near the end.
Wow.
All my life, I have grown up with the unconditional love of my parents, and I was very lucky to have that because it's not always the case with everyone. And so I went, after graduating from college, to the Philippines as a Peace Corps. And I saw firsthand the suffering and the inequities of life from what's called the developed countries and developing countries. And I was, what's the word? Shocked. I was completely emotionally torn apart by what I saw then and what I have seen in all my travels throughout what people used to call the third world, Africa, Asia, the Americas, Middle East, where 1% of the world has a vast majority of the world's wealth, and the rest of the world has less than they can survive on. That changed my view of the world and life, and I could never go home again, and I never could feel part of any society whose history is 500 years of stealing from the rest of the world. I could not, and I still do not. So since that moment in 1968, I became a citizen of the world, and identify, even though I am not of the culture, I identify and I am in the culture of peoples of the world. At that time, the Philippines, and since the Philippines and every West Africa, Korea, China, Trinidad, African American traditions. So my emotional connection to the people has been so profound because I was assigned in teaching in a school, but I went into the hospital at Pangasinan Provincial Hospital, and I saw people dying for no reason, just because ang talagang tatao ng pobre doon sa accidente or stab wound or diphtheria or tetanus, and walang kwarta para tambal, para dara. So they patay. So I did my best to help for those 2 years. And I saw the beauty of the Philippine people, the doctors, the nurses. I lived in Barrio Maluad at the time. And I was so moved by that I have kept that culture and the people and the feeling with me ever since. I can only describe it as the love that I got from my parents, unconditional love, is from people that are close to you, that bring you to the world. But not everybody in the society necessarily has that. But in the Philippines, I felt that from everybody. And it made me feel at home. So even now, I feel at home where you are. Even though it's halfway around the world, you are where my home is. You, and also in Ghana and other places, but it's a culture and a people of the heart. Talagang maganda ng ugali, maganda ng puso, maganda ng diwa sa inyo. And that has been, from that moment I went there, an inspiration both in my life and in my music. And so that's the reason that I do this, because I want to give something back to the world. So when I came back from the Philippines, I wrote a piece called Pilipinas, which is to honor the people of the Philippines. And later did another piece with master artist here, Danangon Kalandoyan, Sir Danny, called Tatao. And that one is also honoring the people of the Philippines. And the reason, Sir Mar, I wrote it in 5/4 is it was a kind of, when I looked at the sky and the ocean, the sea, the people, the sun, I felt a kind of something just in me, something I felt, and it was like a 5/4. It was really like a 5/8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Taka takita, taka takita. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1. And I'll even talk about that later when we get to drum set. But expanded out, it's 5/4. And that's the reason. It's a different kind of heartbeat that I felt from being with the Filipino people. And I used to go, I can tell you this, there was one patient that survived, Manuel Rabaja from Manila, but he was in Dagupan. So he survived, and his family always brought me out. I'd go to Manila and they'd let me stay with them, and they would bring me out to the movies, bring me out to dinner, and they'd never let me pay. Never. I was so embarrassed. Manuel Tan and Jaime Rabaja. So we'd go to the movies. He'd say, magsinite tayo. Oh, sige. So we went to the movies, and then there was a Filipino movie, and I got the idea from a vamp, actually. It was a detective movie in the 60s. I don't remember the name of it, but every time the detective would go to look for the agents, they had a really nice swing in 5/4. 1, 2, 3,
Really?
4, 5, 1, 2. So I don't know if that was the reason, but later, about a year later, when I was writing this piece, I just unconsciously used that. But it's really the beat of the heart. But I still to this day am ashamed. Ako talaga walang hiya because Manuel Tan, Jaime Rabaja and Manuel Tan, every time I go, let's eat. Mangan tayo. Sige, we go eat. No, you can't pay. You can't pay. Hey, we finished eating. We're walking around Manila, at night. It was like 90 degrees. It felt beautiful. It was warm. Then we go, ay, magsine tayo. Sige. So we go to the movies. You can't pay. You can't pay. I was so ashamed. So anyway, to make a long story short, it's my experiences there, Sir Mar, that gave me that heartbeat.
Wow. Thanks for wow. So makabagbag damdamin. Sobra akong na-touch. I
Very
was
beautiful.
so touched by the story. It's so inspiring. And thank you
very
Royal.
profound. Yes.
Sir Royal, just want to let you know that I'm in Pangasinan right now. One town next to Dagupan.
Ay, which town?
I'm in Calasiao.
Oh, Calasiao.
Yeah. I'm in Calasiao right now.
Oh, man. Well, I'm sure you've had milkfish and bangus.
Yeah, bangus. And sugpo.
Yes, that's very profound. Like,
Yeah, I hope you can go back here and visit Dagupan again.
Sige, I will.
Yeah.
I still have many friends there. I have many friends. When I come, I usually go and visit.
Yeah. You're very welcome to go back.
Sige. Lingayen Gulf with the ocean.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Sige. Okay. Were there any other questions that people might have now? Or
yeah,
Go on now. I guess we can go on.
well, we're looking at the comments. Well, first, again, shout out to Mr. Uma Shankar. Hello from India. And then I think si Senor Junior Galado is also watching. He's one of our top drummers in the country. He says he's enjoying this very much. And then there's a quick question, like, Sir Royal, how many years have you been playing percussion? He's talking about number of years.
I started. My mother and my uncle were really great tap dancers.
Oh yes, I forgot about that part. Yeah.
I love tap dancing, but it's one of my failures in my life. One of my many failures. I'm at my best, just barely adequate, but they were like really great. And so I was tap dancing at the age of 3 years old. When I was 3 years old in 1950. So if you count the tap dancing, oh my goodness, 71 years, I guess. I don't know.
Okay, wow. So that's a pro tip, guys. Dapat nagta-tap dance tayo if we want to be as good as Dr. Hartigan. But yeah,
No, I'm learning. I'm not. I don't think of myself. I should say that too. I do not think of myself as a master. I don't think of myself as some people want to, Mr. Africa or something. Mrs. No, I am a student of African music and of all world musics, just like I am a student of Palabuni Bunyan. I can play, some of the rhythms like Babadil and Dabakan and Gandingan and Agong, but I don't know Kulintang, but I love the culture and I love the instruments of Palabuni Bunyan. And also in the north, the Gangsa of the Kalinga people. I've been honored to study with the northern music with Alex Tumapang and the southern music with Sir Danangan Kalanduyan, and in the Philippines, Sir Kanapia Kalanduyan, his brother, and Mam Aga Mayu Butokan, master artist. So all of these things I am learning. I like to say that. I'm not in any way something I am learning.
And
Nice.
if Thanks for
Okay.
that. It's inspiring us also to learn more. And if you don't mind, another quick question before we continue with the drum set. You mentioned world music, and there are people in the audience who's also encountering that for the first time. If you could talk about a bit about that, what is world music and what is jazz, and how is it?
How
How
are
are
they
you
connected?
connected at these two
Yeah.
things? Yes.
Yeah, in the past, many years, music was divided into areas like classical or Western music and everything else or whatever. But the way I see it, after having studied different world traditions, all musics of the world comprise, as we want to say, the world of music, including Western European classical music, which is one of the many traditions. But I do not see them as hierarchical, like some are classical and some are not, and different. Or like, I don't always like to think in terms of the differentiation between classical and folk. I don't see that at all. Um, all musics are classical. All musics are of the people, and all of them have great tradition and they have great meaning, including Western European, like Beethoven, Stravinsky, Debussy, contemporary. It's wonder. I played it. I played timpani and L'Histoire de Soldat by Stravinsky and different. I enjoy that, but my heart is with the non-Western musics of the world: Africa, African American music, Asian music, Kulintang, and so forth. Um, all of them I see equally deep and profound because each of them expresses a culture, a belief system that is of a people. And because all peoples are equally valid, all their musical expression is equally valid. And to define it anymore is to think of music from one of my other teachers, Roland Wiggins, great philosopher. Music has three levels, according to him: the technical level,
Mhm.
the syntactic level, and the what he called the semiotic. What that translates as the basic nuts and bolts of playing. The syntactic is how you put that together in compositions and styles and forms and the music that you actually create. And the third, the semiotic, is the meaning in the music. And the important thing to remember is that the first two are the servants of the third one. In other words, and it's unfortunate because a lot of music is now taught with just the first or the first and the second only. It's being able to just be technically proficient and being able to play a song in 12 keys and play every possible lick you can think of and imitate all the solos that you've heard in jazz or whatever. Those are good disciplines. Yes, you need to do your technique. And of course, I practice technique. And you need to put it together in compositions and how you play. Yes. But all of that means to me very little if there is not an inner meaning in the music. Whether the meaning is cultural, personal, political, or I like to think in terms of spiritual, a deep, deep spiritual expression of the way of life of people. And that, in my experience of world music, is what I see. Even in West Africa, the most recreational, relaxed music, at heart, it's spiritual, of the soul. And I feel that in Kalinga Gangsa and in southern Palabuni Binyan, Beijing opera, African drumming and dance, and the music of African Americans such as John Coltrane. So I guess to answer your question, I see all musics as equally valid, just like the peoples that they come from are. And we should celebrate that beautiful diversity as the different branches of one tree. As Dizzy Gillespie said, the flowers and fruits of a single tree, each with its own beautiful fragrance and appearance. So that's how I see it.
Wow, this
And
is
the
a lot to think about.
American jazz is one of those.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's giving us a lot to think about. Very beautiful ideas, Royal. Thank you for that. And
Okay.
we are just really taking it all in. Um, so I think, paano ba, Lexter, Sir Mar?
Yeah, we can
Uh,
go on. We can
yeah,
move to the
so I think,
next.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
uh,
Okay.
so
Take it away,
right
Okay.
Sir
now,
Roy.
Royal is gonna move into the other room.
Let's go to the other room.
So para tayong nasa bahay ni Sir Royal ngayong
Pa,
gabi.
tour tayo.
It's like we're making a house tour in your house, in your home.
That's true, yeah.
Yeah.
Magtatanong ulit ako pag nasa drum set na siya.
Okay pa.
Yeah.
So again,
So,
for our audience of Facebook, thank you for staying with us and watching this tonight. I know it's, yeah, the 1st of December and there's a lot of things happening, but this is also one of those rare opportunities na nakakasama natin si Royal dito ngayon online. And kung may mga tanong, please don't hesitate. You can also ask in Filipino, okay lang. And as I've also included sa comments, may mga materials, may supplementary material ito na nakalagay din yung link sa Facebook post nito. So just check it out. Okay? We started the session with very interesting rhythms from West Africa, from Ghana, which Royal played, And now, nakita natin ngayon another interesting setup, may drum set and a bunch of other things. So, I guess, Sir Royal,
Take it away.
take it away. We're gonna hide first.
Okay. I would like to do, if there's time, yeah, I think there'll be time. I'll stay here as long as you want, so I'm cool. Two pieces from traditional repertoire, both again back to the Ewe people of southeastern Ghana and Togo. The first is called Akpese, and it's known popularly nowadays as Bobobo, but the older name is Akpese. And it has this boat-shaped iron bell. In fact, there are sometimes 2 or 3 of them that play in the ensemble with different interlocking rhythms. I'll play the high atoke and then the second one as well, high and middle, to give you that contrast. Usually it's played with a metal striker, but it'd be so loud in here, I think I'll just use the wooden one, but know that it's usually a metal striker. So here's the pattern, and I'm going to count it in 4 beats. The first piece that I'll do, Akpese, is what you could feel in a duple time. You could hear it as if it was written in 4/4. The one I'll do later is called Gadzo, and that is in a triple feel time of 12/8. So 3 pulses or units for each dotted quarter main beat, which reflect dancers' foot movements. Here, the dancers' foot movements are reflected in what you could write as 4 quarter note beats in 4/4 time. Again, I don't like to say that, like analyzing it as a visual 4/4 12/8, but since we're far away and we have a short time, I'll say that just to give you a sense of where we are with it. But the African people do not think of it that way. They just feel it as a heartbeat. So I'm using these terms just to help us understand the sense of the music. So here in 4 beats is the bell. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now you can hear almost, that's an embellishment of what you know as son clave, which is the bell pattern for another music of the Ga people called Palogo. 1, 2, 3, 4. And if any of you want to clap along, even though there's a latency delay, please feel free to go ahead. I'll do it one more time. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I'll do the embellished pattern that we find in this music that we're looking at today called akpese. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now the second atoke, another boat-shaped bell, has a 3-stroke pattern that falls on the and of beats 2, 3, and 4. And these are all the rhythms we're doing today in the other room and here. They're in my book, West African Ede Rhythms for Drum Set, that has a DVD with it. I wasn't able to send the DVD, but you have the text in the book and feel free to share that with everyone. Adzogbo, and now Akpese, and a little later, Gadzo. They're all in that book and they're all written out. So you don't have to write this now or anything. So here is the second medium atoke pattern that locks in with the first. And I'll count 4. And as I said, it strikes on the and of beats 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 3, and 4, and 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1. Good. Now, let's try to play those, if I can work it out. I'll mute the lower one just so you can hear the higher one a little better because they're different sizes. So here's the 2 together. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so that's the interplay of the 2 atoke bell patterns. Next is this gourd rattle. Netted beads around the gourd. All these are materials from the earth. And this is called a hatse, A-X-A-T-S-E, but the X is pronounced like H, a hatse. And its basic pattern is this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. So on the leg, interrupted by the hand. That's the basic pattern. There are other patterns that are many variations. For example, 1, 2, 3, 4. Basic variations. Okay, now the way the basic would fit with the bell is this. All right, that's a little rough. I can't use my hand, but just so you get the idea. So that's the bell heartbeat from atoke, the supporting gourd rattle of ahatse, and now we'll look at drum parts for this akpese recreational music of the Ewe people. The first one we did in the other room was to the spirit of war, Adzo Hu. Second one was the royal court music of the Asantehene, Fantam from. This is now recreational social music of the Ewe people called akpese. And the pattern of this is called ashivwi. It's a single-headed drum, and it has an opening at the bottom, and you play it in this music with your hands, mute and open both tones. its pattern is precisely that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Gang, 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 like that. I was singing the bell. I can't really do it well because I don't have three hands, but let me try to just play it a little and do one. Okay, so you see how that fits in. Mute and open hand tones on this drum called ashivui. In other parts of Ghana, it's known as apentema, but among Ewe, for this music, it's called ashivui. There's a small drum. It's almost like a miniature snare drum, which I don't have, called hartigan, and it has a very high pitch, something like that. And it has it plays a lot of improvised patterns, actually. And again, its name is hartigan. You find it in some of the akpese ensembles, not all. But that rhythm was very interesting to me. It has a basic rhythm and many variations. But here is a basic rhythm, and we're going to look at that when we get to drum set. So this is the hartigan rhythm. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hartigan. Now there's another drum. We talked about language, and the language is played on the lead drum, but it's also played on this double-headed drum. You can see it's hourglass shaped. It comes smaller in the middle and larger at the end. 2 heads, one on each end. And because the drum is connected, the 2 heads are connected with strands of twine, you can pull on the twine and change the pitch of the drum heads. So therefore, by changing the tension and the pitch, the drum can speak. And you can leave the twine and the connecting threads loose, so it's lower, tighten a little more, or even more. You can hear the tonal pitches. And in this music, this like hartigan plays many variations. But one of its patterns, one of its basic patterns, is based on the language. Excuse me. Zole nui nui, zovadro, zole nui nui, zovadro, zole nui nui, zovadro, zole nui nui, zovadro. That translates literally, as you enter, walk gracefully. But like most African sayings or proverbs, the literal meaning has a deeper meaning. So what the deeper meaning and real meaning in this zole nui nui zovadro is, as you go through life, follow a high moral way of being. Live with integrity. So that's the meaning of zole nui nui zovadro, and here's what it sounds like. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and then there is the lead drum. It's also called ashivwi. In other parts of Ghana, this would be known as balogo when it's used for palogo, or among the Asante, oprenteng. But here, it's an ashivwi. And so I'll just do a few patterns. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that is the basic patterns. Those are the basic patterns for the Akpese ensemble. Now, what I'd like to do is to go to the drum set and let's see how we might adapt those for the drum set. I might need your help in putting the computer so you can see the drum set well. Let's see what we can do here. Does that look okay, or should I bring it down a little? Is that okay?
Yes, it looks okay.
Oh, sige.
Good.
Okay, so we've gone through the drums of the Ewe ensemble. Now, for those of you, I'm sure you probably do, but this is the bass drum down here. Called, I refer to that as bass drum. Hi-hat, the foot or stick. And then the floor tom is usually the lowest sounding. Mounted tom is medium. Snare drum is higher. Or if the snare's rough. And then, of course, cymbals. You can have a cymbal here for riding, playing time, and another cymbal for crashing or playing time. So these are the basic elements of a drum set. Now, let's look at what we had with that bell pattern. The first one was Akpese bell. Gang, 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 gang. So it's metal bell. Let's put it on a metal instrument. The cymbal. Like that. Now you can play it anywhere. You can play it on the side. If you want to play softly in a bass solo, for example, or on the body of the cymbal. Or on the bell. Or you could put it on the side of the floor tom. Or the rim of the floor tom. Or the rim of the snare. Or you could play it what Blackwell, one of my teachers said Blackwell calls a snapping technique. A tiny little high rim shot with the tip of the stick right near the rim. Or you could play it on a drum. Anywhere you want. And so forth. But let's now just put it on the cymbal. And then I will play the second atoke part, 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and I'll play that on hi-hat. So those two together will sound like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so that's the bell. Now we have the rattle, which we won't do now because I would like to do a different rhythm to put on the toms. So we had the ashivui mute and open. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So you could play those muted tones as higher. Muted tones are higher pitch. So muted higher pitch tones from the ashivui drum as higher pitch cross sticks on snare. And open tones on ashivui as open tones on toms. Or so you could sound like this. Or you could even use this open snare tone for the high pitch. But let's use cross stick. So let's try that first, literally as 2 mutes followed by 2 opens. And then I'll do another open alternating on floor tom. Now let's join that with the 2 toque patterns on cymbal and hi-hat. Okay, now we'll add a pulse on bass drum. To start with, just a single pulse on each of the 4 main beats that reflect dancers' foot movements. And what I'm going to do now is to remove one of the cross sticks to leave a little more space on the ensemble. So instead of this, it's going to be this. Okay, so let's put that together. The octave ensemble. The Dauro 1, the highest Dauro pattern on cymbal, the medium Dauro on hi-hat, the bell, the ashivui hand drum part on snare cross sticks and toms, and a underlying pulse that fits the dancer's foot movements and which actually reflects the ahatse gourd rattle pattern. Let's try that. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's one way of adapting these rhythms. I should say, to start with, too, I'm playing 4 different patterns, and that can work. But sometimes, when you're in a group that's got a lot of players doing creative things, less is more. Sometimes I find that all I need to do is to play the bell pattern on a cymbal, and then lose a lot of space for my other limbs to interact with what I'm hearing going on. I don't have to play everything on each limb literally all the time, because then it becomes predictable and it becomes too dense to prevent others from filling in the musical space, the sonic space. So I might do this. An example, when you're in the playing situation, you might completely change this up. But what I'm giving you today are just starting points from which you can add things, you can leave them out. You could just do one rhythm and see what works in whatever musical style you are playing in. what I'd like to do now is to go to the next rhythm that we looked at, the hartigan. Remember how that went? And you could actually play that rhythm just like you do on hartigan with your hand muting on the snare drum. It would sound like this. But now we're going to take that hartigan rhythm and put it on the cymbal. 1, 2, 3, 4. And let's join it with the other rhythms that we were already playing with the first atoke bell pattern. This is what it'll sound like. 1, 2, 3, 4. Cool. Okay, now let's do another one. When we had the second atoke is 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, 2, and 3, and 4. That beautiful 3-stroke pattern leaves a lot of space. So let's try to put that on the cymbal. We've been playing it on the hi-hat with the foot. 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, 2, and 3, and 4. But now let's take that and put it on the cymbal. It's very sparse, but it leaves a lot of space. And again, I know there's latency with our Zoom. When you receive it, it's after I do it or whatever. But if you want to clap along, or even if you have a drum set where you are and play along, that's fine. So let's play that rhythm on the bell. 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, 2, and 3, and 4. And then we're going to play the dono pattern, zole nui nui, zo vadro, zole nui nui, zo vadro, between the low and high toms, the low and high pitches of the language, zole nui nui, zo vadro, and the dono now on toms. So this is what it'll sound like. And now, actually, I'm going to put that over here. Here we go. 1, 2, and 3, and cymbal pattern, but it lets it breathe. And again, these are all different rhythms. You could use 1 or 2 of them. You don't have to use all. And the final one I like to do for octave adaptation. And again, I have to say there's thousands of adaptations. We're just doing like 4, but they're all in the book and you can check them out and take it wherever you want in the music you're playing. The final one is the rattle, a hatse, the gourd rattle. Pop, putty pop, putty pop, putty pop, putty pop. In fact, if you're at home, well, yeah, you are at home. You could try it even if you don't have the rattle, or your hand and your leg. So the traditional pattern with the rattle is leg, 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 hand, leg, leg, hand, leg, leg, hand, leg. So if you get a chance, just try that right now, and we'll do it. Actually, maybe I'll stand up so you can see a little better. Bum, And we say that the strokes on the leg are pa, and the strokes on the hand are ti. So it's pa, pati, pa. Actually, you could say it with me. Pa, pati, 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 pa. Pa, pati, 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 pa. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Pa, pati, 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 pa. Aha! What does that remind you of? Dang, ticka, dang, ticka, dang, ticka, dang. Pati, pa. That's a duple field swing. It's really sort of cool how that could translate from a gourd rattle, providing a support for the heartbeat of the bell pattern, the invisible conductor, as my teacher says, Kopen Adzenia. And then now, here it is, a heartbeat on the cymbal. Pa, pati pa, pati pa, pati pa, pati pa, pati pa. So let's take the second medium atoke on the anza 2, 3, and 4 on hi-hat, as we did before, a bass drum pulse, and we'll do that same ashivui pattern on snare and tom. So here it comes. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 4. So these are just a few of the patterns. In fact, I could spend the entire time just on one of them and how we can mess around with it. Like you could do it with brushes. For example, let's look at this. Let's just do the left hand. With my left hand, I'll do the ashivui pattern along with the bell here. Dono pattern on these and just switch my left hand. Okay, so there's so many ways we can deal with this, but in our short time, I just wanted to give you a little taste of this duple-based music called akpese. Now I'd like to look at what we could say is a triple feel, a triple-based music, meaning every beat has 3 subdivisions. And in this case, it would be, you could hear it as in notation, in Western notation, as 12/8 with 4 dotted quarter main beats with 3 inner pulses in each one. And those 4 beats reflect the dancer's foot movements as they go ting, go, 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 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. So many of the times the underlying pulse structure, the structure of the beats, gives you a sense of where the dancer's foot movements are, where the basic dancer's foot movements. There are many variations, but the basic foot movements in the drum and dance ensemble with the dancers, that's very often expressed in how the pulse of the music has its root in the ground, its basic pulse. So let's come back to our Ghanaian drums and ensemble. And I think I'll back this up a little. Let's see. it's got to come down some more. That looks pretty good. Okay. Okay, now for Gadzo, this is also a music of the Ewe people of southeastern Ghana, Togo, and Benin. Maybe I should bring it down a little. How's that? Oh, it should come down. Does that look pretty good? Yeah, okay. So for this music, this is called Gadzo, G-A-D-Z-O. It's an old warrior music, but it's now played for social occasions too. And like Adzohu, it's meant to give inner strength in the war against all the sadnesses of life, betrayals, failures, whatever, circumstances beyond our control, to deal with the difficulties of life. We go to war, in a sense, by having the spiritual and moral strength to survive and thrive. And this music has as its heartbeat, its tibok, this double bell. This is a larger version than we saw in the other room. The mother, the voice of the mother, voice of the child, forever joined as one. And this, as I mentioned, is called Gankogwi. And the basic pattern for Gadzo is, again, 12/8, 4 dotted quarter beats with 3 inner pulses reflecting dancers' foot movements. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 1, 2, 3, 4. And these strokes are verbalized as tin and go. So it's tin, go, 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 tin, go, 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 tin. Very often, all of it is played on the high bell with just accents on the low. But to make it clear, I'm playing the low bell at where I'm starting the pattern. So along with that Gankogwi heartbeat and bell pattern is again an ahatse gourd rattle. Many patterns with this. I'll play. Let's see how I can get that. Yeah. This is the most basic, just outlining the 4 dotted Western terms dotted quarter beats. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then there are variations that you can play. Or okay, so these are all variations. A common pattern that's pretty active is playing the bell on my leg. So it's like this: 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. And then putting in hand strokes in between. So it would be in slow motion, pa, pa, ti, pa, pa, ti, pa, ti, pa, ti, pa, 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 ti, pa, pa, ti, pa, ti, pa, ti, pa, 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 ti, pa, pa, ti, pa, ti, pa, ti, pa, 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 ti, pa, pa, ti, pa, ti, pa, ti, pa, pa. So at the pace we did it at, would sound like this if I was just playing it as a single instrument. 1, 2, 3, 4. Pa, pa, ti, pa, pa, ti, pa, ti, pa, ti, pa, 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 ti, pa, pa, ti, pa, ti, pa, ti, pa, 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 ti, pa, pa, ti, pa, ti, pa, ti, pa, 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 ti, pa, pa, ti, pa, ti, pa, ti, pa, pa. So you can see the gourd rattle again here reinforces the heartbeat of the Gankogui bell pattern. Now, the supporting drums include a high-pitched, single-headed, slender drum known as kagan, K-A-G-A-N. It's a different N though than in English. The Ewe alphabet has 6 letters that are not in English. The N is like a ma, ma, like NG. So kagang, kagang, and it has a high-pitched sound. And you usually play the drum, instead of in the middle of the head with the tip of the stick, as many other drums, you play flat across the head, almost to the other side. And it is played like this. So it's a sharp, high sound. And it has many patterns. The most basic is the second and third partial of each dotted quarter pulse. So if you have a dotted quarter with 3/8 notes, the first is a rest and the last 2 are articulated as strokes. Very slow. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'll demonstrate it with the bell and just playing with one hand. And there are many variations. You could have if you were thinking in Western terms, on the first beat, it's a flam. On the second of the 3 partials, the first and third are silent. And then on the second beat, 3 even 8th note strokes filling out that beat. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And there are all kinds of variations. We won't need to get into them now, but that would sound like one thing that Ewe drummers do that's very beautiful and interesting. It's a subtle pulling of the strokes, so that if it's in an even feel, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, it might be. I'll try to demonstrate that. Let's see, maybe with the rattle first. Here's the 4 dotted quarter beats. 1, 2, and then the basic. Now pulling it. Or with the bell. Basic. hard to feel, but that's the idea. So that is the kagang, high-pitched supporting drum. Now we're going to hear the kidi, medium-pitched drum. You see, it's single-headed, but it's closed at the bottom. And it has a medium tone. And you play with sticks in the middle of the drum head, either mute or bounce strokes. And in this music, the basic pattern is very often kidi or other drums have responses with the lead drum. But for now, we'll look at just the basic pattern. And in this gadzo music, its basic pattern is 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Good. Now I'll play that with the belt so you get to hear it. Oh, and I'll only play the opens to make it clearer. Okay, that's kidi. Now, in gadzo, there is a dono part, again, with this hourglass-shaped drum. It speaks low and high and middle tones. And in this, it plays like kagan, but every other one in the basic pattern. So kagan is 1 ta-ta, 2 ta-ta, 3 ta-ta, 4 ta-ta, 1 ta-ta, 2 ta-ta, 3 ta-ta, 4 ta-ta. This plays in, if you're going to write it in Western terms, on the second and third partials of beats 2 and 4 of the 4 dotted quarters in 12/8 time. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, and it's high-low. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Now again, this has many variations, but that's the basic pattern for this dono drum in gadzo music. And we come now to the lead drum, which is called gadzo vuga. Vuga among the Ewe means drum, and so this is the lead drum for gadzo, so it's called gadzo vuga. And it has low tones, medium, and high. Slap or mute, open, bass. All combinations of that. And this drum, and even the dono, can reflect speech. So one of them is soboji, soboji, gama, dodia fopame, gavayi, soboji, mid, 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 low, low, mid, mid, low, 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 mid, 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 or sometimes high, 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 low, low, high, high, low, 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 high, lie, lie, lie. And it would sound on the drum like this. Soboji, soboji, gama. Dodia fopame, gabai soboji. Soboji, soboji, gama. Dodia fopame, gabai soboji. Soboji, soboji, gama. Dodia fopame, gabai soboji. That meaning is iron ring, ring of iron, like an ankle bracelet, will come up calf. Iron ring comes up calf. Now, again, literal meaning. The inner meaning, in the villages, some people wear an iron ankle bracelet or something on their ankle. And when the proverb says, will come up calf, it means it will be seen. So what it's really saying is do not cover up your traditional village ankle bracelet or whatever is you have around your ankle. with your Western shoes and socks and pants. Don't hide it, because it will come up and be seen. So what this is really saying is, do not try to hide your traditional culture. Do not hide your African heritage. Be proud of it and show it. Show your traditional ankle bracelet. Show your culture. Soboji, soboji gama. Dodia fopame gabai soboji. Soboji, soboji gama. Another pattern, one other pattern I'll do is very, very short. Gadegafo. Lo mid lo lo. Gadegafo. Gadegafo. Yeah, if you want to say that along with me, go ahead. Gadegafo. 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 And that's on the drum. Gadegaga. 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 So the drum tones are gadegaga, but the language, the Ewe language, is gadegafo. 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 And it falls in rhythm like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Gadegafo. Okay, so those are some patterns with the lead and supporting drums in the Gadzo ensemble. I'd like to try to play that with the bell, but I have to have both hands, so that's not going to work. I'll do it on drum set to some extent. So now let's go over to the drum set.
So
yeah.
This is we're just reminding you about the time. This is the last part, right? So yeah, this is very exciting. Thank you so much. So this is Gadzo on the drum set.
So I have to just check again if this is in the right spot. Let's see if that is. That's okay for. Does that sound okay? Look okay? Okay. Let's try to combine both of these. Here's a little pattern of Gadzo with the patterns. Here's Gadzo, the bell, the hartigan, and a pulse. With the swing. Gadzo with the triple swing. ways you can adapt West African rhythms into the drum set. And as a very last coda, I'd like to show 2 or 3 things very quickly of time cycles that we've heard the heartbeat of Africa with a 12/8 and a 4/4 notation in my book, of a pulse of duple and triple. But now, let's listen to a pulse that's not symmetrical. A fast 5. In swing, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Here's one with 5. It's a heartbeat. It's not a mathematical calculation. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. For example, the gentleman from India, and you all can try clapping. Taka taki ta 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 taka taki ta. Let's try clapping that. Takadimi takita, takadimi takita, takadimi takita, takadimi takita, takadimi takita, takadimi takita, takadimi takita. Roll it in fast 7. Let's look at 11. Maybe we can do these in a future time. 11 as 5.5. Takadimi, takadimi, takita, takadimi, takadimi, takita, takadimi, takadimi, takita, takadimi, 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 takita. Okay.
Wow.
Wala na akong masabi.
Wow.
Naubusan ako.
You're like an engine that you keep running and getting hotter and hotter and hotter.
Well,
Yeah. Your independence was awesome.
Those 11 odd times and swings and takadimis and wow, I mean, there's just a lot of things. We have some time for questions, no? Tama po ba?
Yeah, I guess may time pa for questions.
Si Sir Mariata may tanong din, no? Tama po ba, sir?
Oo, meron akong may tanong ako dahil you're the only Royal, you're the only person that I know who had lessons with Max Roach. So, how was it having lessons with Max Roach? How is it an R or how, can you tell us how he conducts lessons or tell us what your assignments are? Whatever.
It was interesting. You know how earlier I spoke about the 3 aspects of music being technical, and then putting everything together, and then the meaning in it. He didn't give individual lessons, at least when I was with him at UMass Amherst. He would give group lessons, and we would all share ideas. But he stressed, even when I brought in some of those ideas I had for time cycles, like I just played in 5 or 7 or 11 or whatever, 13, 21, he would emphasize how it's important not to think of it mathematically, which actually I didn't do. I thought of it, like, for example, in Filipinos, the 5 was just a feeling I had of a heartbeat, not, I didn't sit down and say, like, well, I'll mathematically figure it out. And none of these are. They're all just from the heart. But he would stress that. He said, it's important when you play to have some kind of an image, a feeling that's not about the music or the technique or anything like that. In other words, I guess what he was really saying was, like Roland Wiggins, that music is meaning, and it's not about the techniques. You have to have those, yes, but those are the servants of what it really is. And without that meaning, it's not music. It's not, doesn't have any depth. And he would always say that music has to have an inner strength, not just from playing 4,000 notes. And, like nowadays, a lot of people make it into a spectacle, whatever style of music you're playing. It has to be a big spectacle that impresses you. And of course, as part of a bourgeoisie, or how will we say this, profit-making capitalist thing to make money off people for the corporation, they make everything into a big spectacle. So you have to buy their whatever CDs and all that, and that's just not what the music is. Yeah. That's a destruction, actually, of what the music is. The music is meant for its own sake, and it's never meant to be to sell things or use it or to impress anyone or ego or status or any of that. Money, throw that out. That's what he told me, and all of our people in the music. He said all that other thing, which sadly, the music industry, that's what it's become. It's become, in his words, a lie. It's not correct. It's not what it's supposed to be. So we have a duty as artists to live it how we feel it, for what we know it to be at its root. Even if that means, and we all can sympathize with this, empathize, even if that means we aren't rich or famous. Who wants that? Nobody wants that, really, in the long run. You might want it now, but when you get older, you realize, no, that's not what the music is. Said to stay true to yourself and to do the music for its own sake, not for the sake of external reward, profit, or anything. Just for your own expression of a spirit that is in you and in the culture that you are part of.
Wow. Well said. Wow. Again, marami tayong pinag-iisipan na.
Thank you so much, Royal. Thank you so much. That's so inspiring.
It's wonderful to be around. Every one of you is like a great artist. I know Sir Mars worked for many years. I've heard him play. It's just a monster player. And
thank you. Thank you.
You're playing like you do hand drums, you do Afro-Cuban music, you do Palabuni Bunyan, you do contemporary music. It's just, and I'm sure Ryan and everyone, Mr. Peralta, I mean, it's just, you guys are all really wonderful, and I'm very happy to do this. Most people wouldn't be able to grasp any of this in the short time we have, but I think you all are very, very. You are all really expert players and musicians, and so it's really fun to work with you because I can give you a lot of things. Maybe I gave you too much in a short time, but I wanted to rush through and give you what I could. But I know you can catch it. You can really feel it and understand it, and so I'm very happy to give what I can for you today.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Yeah, I think Lexter, parang sa audience din, no? Everyone's enjoying this,
Yeah,
no?
they're really enjoying it, and they're really are amazed on your independence.
All these
Yeah, all the
complex.
groups that you're doing, it's really wow.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Some
again,
are
thank you.
saying, sana may part 2 na daw, sana may part 2 na, sabi ni
Yeah,
Brutus.
there are the audience here are asking for part 2. So you're always welcome to visit us again next year, sir.
We will definitely
Yeah.
have you again in the future. So
Again next year.
Yeah, we can do more on world rhythms, and even I'd love to do a whole thing on time cycles.
oh yeah.
I did one for the Massachusetts branch of the Percussive Art Society, and it was just focusing the entire time on 11, the entire time. So we could do something like that. And I should say that I donated some of my books and CDs to the UP Diliman Music Library.
Mhm.
And the first book is West African Rhythms for Drum Set. The second book is Dancing on the Time. And the third book is the West African Ewe Rhythms for Drum Set that I sent to you for this as background for this presentation. And Mom Tusa, if in the second one, Dancing on the Time, that entire book is devoted to independence.
Oh yeah.
So if you, I don't know who would be able to do it. Actually, I did send that to you. I sent
Yes.
you the digital version of that.
Yes.
Yeah, so feel free to share that. There's no way I can get you the DVD outside of the UP Music Library. They have it, but feel free to share that with everyone. You're welcome. And then if any of you have questions, just contact me, and I'd be very happy to work with you on that.
Thank you, Royal. Wow. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Royal Hartigan, scholar, musician, drummer, musicologist. He writes books and he plays like, whoo, a god. And again, sa audience, maraming salamat. Shout
Yeah,
out.
sa mga sumama sa amin ng 2 hours na mahigit. Thank you
Yes.
so much for joining us.
Hello, Mick Versales, and he said, "Magnificent playing, beautiful soul." I mean, I think that
Oh, thank
perfectly
you.
captures, what
Thank you.
happened tonight, and yeah,
Yeah,
I
and
know
some
it's
audience are saying bitin. You know what bitin means, sir?
yeah,
I know.
bitin.
Bitin daw, bitin. You know the meaning of bitin?
Bitin.
No, I'm sorry.
Yeah, they want more.
Yes.
Well, I know it's very late where you are. I'm probably putting you all to sleep. But I can tell you, I was up half the night doing something else, but I wasn't tired at all. I'm not tired. And I have to say that if I would be happy to go for another 6 hours. Believe me, I could never get tired doing this. But I know you have
You
limits,
really
but
do that
I can
long.
do this
Remember, yeah.
all day, all night long. So, next time, if you would like to have me come back again, I'd be happy to do that. And if you even have any other questions, even now, if you have questions, I'm happy to stay and answer them, do whatever. But if not, then next time you have something, I'd love to come back and do another session with you.
Sir, if you have, before we wrap up, do you have anything to announce? Do you have anything to promote?
Future gigs.
Do you have any gigs to watch or any books to release or anything? You can promote it here.
Yeah, I'm working on a book now about meaning. Here's what we were talking about in the drumming and adapted into the drum set, and that'll hopefully be out within the next year. But it isn't quite finished, so I have to. It's about West African philosophy and language that puts it into the master drums, and then now I'm putting it onto the drum set. So I'll let you know when that's coming. I would love to be able to say I will be coming to the Philippines in the next how many months, but I don't know with
Let's
the
hope.
COVID.
Yes.
So I would love to be able to tell you I'll be over there in a few months and I'll see all of you and we can have a week-long session of different things with drum set and African drumming. But right now it looks difficult to come, and so we'll just have to wait till it's possible. But I hope to come and see you again. uh, uh, it means a lot to me to come back home to the Philippines for many reasons, and it's a culture of the heart and the spirit, and it has changed my life. And I am always, even though I am not of the culture, it has made me feel a guest in your culture, and I look forward to coming back home.
Yeah. So
Yes.
thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Roy.
We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And we learned a lot for these
Yeah.
2 hours of your lecture and all demonstration. We really learned a lot from you. So thank you. On behalf of Past PH, we really thank you. And before we wrap up, we just want to thank Sir Royal Hartigan, Sir Mar Dison, and Ma'am Tuse, and all the percussionists and drummers are there who keeps on
Yes.
supporting from start to end.
Yes.
Everyone,
I know.
thank you very much. And next year we'll be having the first specialty series. It's with the LA Phil principal Japanese percussionist Joseph Pereira on February 5, 2022. So that will be also an awesome webinar and lecture, and also please support us.
Yes.
And thank you to the officers and to, of course, to our very good and
Oh yeah.
talented technician and all around, Ryan.
Ryan Peralta, thank you so much
Yeah, Ryan.
for
Yeah.
making this look good. Galing. Galing as
Possible
always.
kung wala ka. So thank you very much.
Salamat
Ayun.
din sa officers, sa tour.
Officers, Atur, Sarah, Isaac,
Sarah. Wow.
and
Best people.
that's sa lahat ng officers. Congratulations and thank you for making this possible. And talagang malaki siyang impact sa industry ng mga katambol dito sa Pilipinas. Yun. So there we have it.
Siguro we can take a screenshot. Ayan,
Yeah.
naka-ganon na si Roy. Ryan, can you take a photo of us? Let's have a photo. Are we doing the peace sign? Are we?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, opa.
O, di na lang. O, smile na lang. O, Korea. Is it finished?
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
So,
Thank you.
Thank you. So mga katambol, there you have it. Our specialty season ender for this year. Thank you very much for all your support. And we will see you next year. Thank you very much. So on behalf of Sir Marquis,
Maligaya.
yeah, Ma'am Tusa.
Salamat, Lexter. Salamat.
Salamat, Lexter. Salamat, Sir Mar. Ang saya na ng grupo ngayon.
Advance
Napakasaya.
all happy holidays. Yun.
Salamat, Sir Mar.
Sabihin, Sir Mar, before Sir Mar, you want to say something before we go?
Ipaghahanda ko si Royal ng tsokolate at saka ng suman pagbalik ko sa
Yun!
Pilipinas.
Suman and hot chocolate for Royal Hartigan.
At chocolate at saka pandesal.
Yes. Yes.
Keso.
Narinig ba niya? Parang siya
Royal?
freeze.
Royal, can you hear us? So yun.
I'm sorry.
Sir Mar said when you come here,
Prepare you a hot chocolate and pandesal and a suman.
and suman. Yes.
Chocolate and pandesal. Sige.
Yeah.
Bangus, alos. I'm coming. I can't wait any longer. I have to come.
Oh yeah.
We will wait for you.
Definitely.
Thank you. Ma'am Tusa, may sabihin ka?
Okay.
Wala. I'm thinking siguro baka si Royal may last words before we hang up.
Any last words before we go? Sir Royal, any last words?
We have an audience still.
All of you who have made this possible, and I look forward to seeing you in person once again. And the way Duke Ellington would end every one of his concerts, I saw him and met him. Saw him 4 or 5 times. From myself to each and every one of you watching, and to all of you who have organized this, as Duke Ellington would say, we would like each and every one of you to know that we do love you madly. Maraming salamat.
Thank you very much,
salamat.
sir.
Good night.
Thank you very
Bye.
much.
Bye.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you sa lahat. Thank you. Merry Christmas. Ingat po tayo lahat. Stay safe. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Hang.
Salamat.